Hi, and welcome to the I Am Perfectly Frank podcast. I am Frankie George McCullough, and the topics we have in these podcasts are intuition, self-fulfillment, and trusting yourself. You'll see that I will be perfectly frank, and please subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the I Am Perfectly Frank podcast. Today, we're going to talk about intuition, your intuition, and trusting your gut. We are all intuitive, and we are not paying attention. And who's joining me today is my producer, Rachel Giordano. I'm really excited to do this stuff with Rachel because we have so much fun together.
Oh my God, I
How
love
you doing
it.
today, Rach?
I'm doing great. I really am. Keeping warm. Doing wonderful.
Great.
Thank you for having me on. I love it. I love doing this with you. We have great conversations.
Yeah, I love them. So I have, I see quite a few people in many different modalities at my office and on the phone with coaching and, body work and people understanding the emotional component related to their pain and how they can actually relieve a lot of their pain in the acknowledgement of the emotional component to that pain. And they get these feelings, and rather than acknowledging them, they either have anxiety and have fear, and the anxiety usually shows up because I'm afraid of what's coming, or I'm afraid of what I know, right? Mm-hmm. Or people just shoo it off like, that's interesting. And we have this constant voice in our head, and the voice is talking to us. And it is giving us information more than not because we were raised in a world to have this talk to ourselves that does not inspire us. Instead, it depresses us.
So that's my one question. Do we have one voice or do we have more than one voice? Because sometimes I feel like there's like that old familiar voice saying negative things. And then there's like that other voice, like, or am I just crazy? Do I have too many voices in my head?
You are crazy, and so am I. And yes, it's really one voice.
Okay.
It's coming from what? When I was 10, when I was 15, when I was 25, it's coming from this experience and that experience. It's coming from where we are triggered.
So
right?
Then how do you know which is the intuition and versus what's the fear?
Intuition doesn't show up in your brain. It shows up in your gut.
Okay.
What happens in your brain is the response to that intuition.
Okay.
You with me?
Yes. Keep going.
Intuition really is that doesn't feel good in my body. I don't want to turn right here. Get off the phone on my car. Intuition is, I don't want to go to that party, but I'm going to go anyway, And so what we do is we push through it instead of listening to it. An example might be, as a parent, I have a child that's 15 years old going through his stuff, and of course I want to beat the crap out of him most of the time, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't understand him. He's right, and he doesn't understand me, and that's all fine and dandy. My gut tells me stop, but instead I charge in. Right.
It's so hard. I know you have that split second moment where you could like, am I going to do this or not? And sometimes I just let my anger go, and I hate that. But I totally get what you're saying, where it's like, I just have to get this off my chest.
Now, let's be clear. I can only tell you from my point of view and my experience of, in my case, many years. I knew when I was super young that I had this, ability, we'll say, or I was sensitive and understood. Now, I have never been an empath that took on other people's feelings as if they were mine. I was always that empath that could feel uncomfortable in a situation. more importantly, I knew what my gut was telling me. I was awake to it from a very young age, and it's just continued till now. So, and I've heard many intuitives say, oh, I can't be intuitive about myself or about my family. I cannot tell you that I agree with that. We may be so close to it that we're not paying attention, although I believe this sense of trusting your gut arises everywhere, right? And so this thing, we're going to give it a thing called intuition, this energy of intuitiveness, into it, I'm into it, I know it. We all have it. Nobody's without it. Everyone's with it. It's just, am I awake to it or am I not? And it usually, just like anxiety shows up for people in a physiological way. Their body gets stressed out. They tighten up. Their nerves are firing. Intuition is the same kind of thing, just not, and it may be as intense. But if you could slow down, there's so much about slowing down to get out of your own way. And you go, what am I feeling? My shoulders hurt. My neck is kind of achy. My tummy doesn't feel that great. What's going on in my life? Let's see, I'm concerned about my child. I have all of this good stuff going on. And society told me I can't share all the good stuff. I have to keep that for myself. So, I can do that, but I still want to be in the moment. I don't want to go into the future, right? Mm-hmm. So I kind of back up and I come into this moment. And in this moment, I can feel that my kid's going to be okay. My kid is good. Let me say in the moment, he's good. He's got this. Yay. I know that worry brings about, when I or anyone has this sense of worry, they're not in the light. They're not with source energy. Mm-hmm. And we are always with source energy. When we start to doubt, we're walking away from that source energy into a different frequency, so we cannot pick up that information because we're so caught up in our crazy thinking, right? All those voices in our head. Mm-hmm. So, that's the gut. Let's see, how's my daughter? She's good. My husband, good. Let's see, my gut feels good today, okay? So I'm going to go with that. The thing is, people don't trust it. I believe that every step I take, everything I say, everything that comes at me, every microsecond is source energy guiding me, not just for me, but for anybody else that's involved. So when I open my mouth and insert my foot and feel like shit about it, me opening my mouth and inserting my foot somehow serve the other person. Even if I go back and say, hey, I observed that I felt like crap about that. I did not want, my intention was not to hurt your feeling. I was trying to be funny. Clearly, I'm not good at it. And I just wanted to reach out to you and apologize. Because that's the way I operate. Not everybody else does. I needed to raise the vibration for myself by surrendering the human condition of suffering off of me by communicating with that person. Now I again can get in touch with my gut. Although that moment when I felt like crap, even though I opened my mouth and inserted my foot, that moment when I was feeling like crap was intuition talking to me, and I acted upon it without any ego, any, whatever it is. I can't think of the word. And I surrendered it to get out of my own way. And I also played a role in surrendering it for that person. Although that whole experience was valuable to that person and myself.
What I've noticed, because you mentioned in the beginning about getting sick and pain coming from really not being in a space of listening to that intuition. And it's funny that it goes with like literally your gut feeling, because I have had in the past major gut issues because my intuition, like it starts like a little poke, and then it gets a little harder, and then it's hitting you a little harder, and then suddenly I'm just sick and in bed and I feel like I'm dying. And I know now in retrospect and through working with you that it's really because I wasn't listening to my intuition. My intuition was telling me this scenario is not working for you. You need to find another answer. And every time I would just push it back down. No, because I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. There is no other way. And finally, when the dam exploded and I made the right decision for myself, I immediately felt better. It's amazing. And when I started listening to the voice, listening to the intuition and going with my gut more, my gut started healing. So it's so crazy to me that you say intuition is listening to your gut. When I wouldn't listen to it, I physically got sick in my gut. Like, that is literally where it was. Because they say your gut's your second brain, right? You need to have that communication between your brain and your gut in your body. And I was not listening to my intuition because I thought I was coming from a place of fear, right? I thought, like, there's no way I can do that. There's no way I can do that. Do you know what I mean? Intuition telling you to leave the situation. And, so what advice do you have for people that were in that same situation as I am, where it's like, okay, I hear the intuition. Maybe everything in my family life is good. Maybe everything with work is good. Maybe it's a friendship that's an issue that I'm not willing to deal with yet. What do we do when we're not listening to that intuition, but I also don't want to get physically ill? Like, what do we do?
I'm going to back up just a little. As adults, people that influence children, I would offer us the thought, at this time in life, we are truly awakening to the beauty of who we are. And rather than suppress that information, let's empower it in the youth. Mom, I feel like we shouldn't go today. Okay, baby, I know we think they're resisting. I know we think, but if we back up and calm down, we can ask them why. I don't know, I just don't feel good about it. But instead they want to lie. Okay? Of course they do, but we put these chokeholds on our children. You've got to go to school, and you've got to get up on this time, and you've got to wear these clothes, and this is the way we eat. And we put these chokeholds on them. Mm-hmm. Now, I think patterns are good, but when we suppress something that pops out of the pattern just to keep it all contained, we are suppressing within ourselves and that individual, that intuition. Now, as adults, to wake up to our own intuition as you have, science also has said that 99% of all illness starts in the gut. They realize that people that are alcoholics or, people that are aholics. I don't care if it's workaholic, alcoholic, sugaraholic. People that are aholics, are suppressing something in their gut, right? That it all shows up in their gut. And so we have a lot of science behind this. I would say to you that it's going to take time. It really does start in the head and releasing that chatter that's going on. You and I had discussed the word negative. Mm-hmm. If we can take the word negative, even though that may be so, but if you can take the word negative out of the chatter and say, how is this chatter serving me? It's taking me down. It's uncomfortable. Most people still today don't realize that they have power over the words they use in their brain. They think this voice is coming from someplace else. Okay? Mm-hmm. It's coming from source, which you are part of. Source, energy. Mm-hmm. You know that I believe that source, God energy, the universe, lives inside of each individual and inside of everything, as whatever that thing is. Inside a dog, inside of me, inside a leaf, inside a table. Even though the table is made by man, it still was brought to the world organically. And even though we have chemicals, synthetic stuff, they still had to come from a chemical that we could make organically, right? So there is so much about mindfulness. Mindfulness is where you slow down and you think before you act. Now, in my past, I heard, well, you're ADHD and you can't slow down. And come on, you got to slow down. Or this kid's so crazy hyper. Mm-hmm. Hyperness does not describe slowing down. Slowing down for some people is laying down and meditating. But in that space, the greatest meditation arises in the chaos. Calming down in the chaos is true meditation, right? To go and find a place and sit down and everybody get quiet. I'm going to play this music. That's rest. That's freeing yourself. But true meditation arises in the chaos. You get calm in the chaos. And if you're ADHD and you're crazy and you're bouncing off the wall, that may be your freedom. I meditate great when I am moving. I function so much better when I'm in movement. Does that mean I don't meditate? No, it doesn't mean that. It simply means that's how I operate. And we tend to put ourselves into these definitions. She hurt, like I said, I open my mouth, I insert my foot, I hurt somebody's feelings, okay? Immediately people jump to finding fault with the other person instead of going, oh, they triggered something in me, right? Or we put these parameters around things. If you're on time, that means you're this kind of person. If you're late, that means you're this kind of person. Someone put these parameters around those thoughts and behaviors. And it's time for us to break loose from that. So to listen to your gut is really to listen. Pay attention. Have a conversation with it. I'm going to have a conversation with it. Hey, what are you trying to tell me? You know? Okay, whoa, whew. Let me see. Is this thought crazy thinking in my head? Is this thought in my head making me feel good, or is it making me feel like crap? That's the first place. Because true intuition arises in glory. It doesn't arise in ugliness. Even when what you're feeling is, oh my God, I think they're going to have an accident. There's so much clarity in intuition. So there's no ping pong playing in your head. Right? Oh my gosh, is this going to happen? No, it's not going to happen. Oh, it's going to happen. No, it's not going to happen. There's so much clarity that arises in intuition.
Did you know that Align Salon Group is hiring stylists in Michigan? Candidates can receive up to $800 a year as part of their student loan repayment program. For more information, go to AlignSalonGroup.com. That's ALLINE salongroup.com. Now here's an amazing sponsor. Veterans Van Lines Moving Service, helping veterans get into the moving business. 248-889-8888. VeteransVanlines.com. They'll show you how to get it done.
So are you saying that past situations, so as a child, being told, no, you can't do this, or you have to work harder, etc., still being in my brain now with my intuition telling me this isn't working for you, but my old voices are saying, but you have to, instead of me at least acknowledging the intuition, because I didn't even do that, I just suppressed it. At least if I can sit with it, understand the feeling, understand where it's coming from, and acknowledge it. Okay, I hear you, source, or intuition. I hear what you're saying. I understand this isn't working for me right now. However, like, give me the strength to get through this part because I have to live this out, or I have to see the rest of this through. Does that make sense? Because I suppressed it and didn't even acknowledge it, that's basically why I got sick in a way.
Exactly. Okay. So then it started to show up in your body. Okay, now it may have started in your gut, but based on what's going on with you, it's going to show up in different parts of your body.
Showed up all over my whole body.
Right.
Literally everything was affected. Until I had to sit and say, okay, this isn't working. And I had to stop what I was doing.
Right. Rachel, the problem with all of this stuff is there is so much simplicity in it. But we have been taught in all these millions of years to suffer. And so suffering is complicated. Mm-hmm. Whereas intuition and creation is simple. Mm-hmm. So it's simple. Have a conversation with that information that your brain is telling you. No, I have to do this. Let me ask myself a question. Why do I have to do this? Let me think about that. Why do I have to do it? Well, I've always done it this way my whole life. I never liked it, but people told me it's what I had to do, right? They told me, well, you know what? Why? Why do I have to do it this way? To satisfy everybody else?
Right, because I have to be a good friend. I have to be a good employee. I have to be a good mom. I have to be a good wife. I have to be a good sister. I have to be a good daughter. Like, that's what goes through your head all the time. It's because you have to. Well, who said you have to? Is it making you happy? And if it's not making you happy, then yes. And that's another conversation that we can have another time, is sitting in the uncomfortableness of it. I never wanted to sit in the uncomfortableness of it because I knew the answer would be stop the situation, whether it was a friendship, whether it was something with my husband, my kids, work, whatever it was. And I didn't want to have that confrontation, right? I didn't, at the time, hated confrontation. And so...
Yeah, you were confronting yourself in your brain.
Yes, I would confront myself and then suck that intuition down and then literally physically got ill. So it's fascinating. And the work that you do is fascinating too, because I don't think people understand treating pain patterns is also treating what's going on in your mind.
100%.
How do you help people tap into that intuition then?
I want people to understand that our next podcast is going to be on weight loss. Mm-hmm. And to listen to this portion, because this is also about weight loss, the uncomfortableness, to let ourselves be uncomfortable that we're hungry, to let ourselves be uncomfortable that we don't want to eat this food. Okay, just to, because I want people to understand.
A little tease for the next episode. All right, so then let's stick with intuition for this. How do you help people tap into their intuition?
So as I said, it's so ridiculously simple that people need a complicated road to get out of it.
So like meditation, crystals, candles, I need all of it, right? I need all of it to feel better. And it's fine. Those tools are fine. But like you said, it is so simple. You just have to sit and ask, what do I need to know today?
It's also, as we will say in every podcast, we need each other. So in here, in my office, we release pain patterns. That includes mental and physical, emotional, and spiritual. In here, we might touch you. It's a soft tissue manipulation. It's not at all massage. But you come in, I got a pain in my low back. My left neck is killing me. My jaw hurts. All of that is telling me what emotion is going on. Okay? You're not feeling supported in your low back. Support shows up also as money, or I'm doing it all myself, or I'm St. Christopher, I can carry it all. The shoulder is clearly that, it's a lot of weight for me to handle. I can't do this. This is all shit going on inside of your brain. My neck, I don't want to turn into it. No, don't make me turn into it. I don't want to change, so I'm not going to turn into it.
Wow.
Don't tell me I'm doing it. Don't tell me that, you can help me. No, you can't help me because I, the person that's with the pain, has shut down you helping me because someplace in my life, I'm going to use a harsh language because I'm perfectly frank. Someplace I said, fuck you, I don't need you, I'm going to do it myself. Well, we need each other. And we just did a post on this that we, instead of running into people, we run away from people. If we could say, you know what, I don't like that. I got to find a way to do it differently because I need some help. And maybe it's that person isn't going to help me. But that doesn't mean there's another person that won't help you.
Right, that was my question.
We shut it down.
That was my question. What if you don't like the people that are around you and you have no one to turn to?
So, my mother, and my mother would say, Francis, the best people to talk to is the stranger. Because the stranger, they got nothing. They don't know you. You don't know them. They're going to listen to, they're going to hear only your story. And they don't know the other people. So they're going to listen, even if they know this person and they don't know you, still, they're going to hear only your side of the story. Mm-hmm. Now, everybody has an experience with everybody. Everybody does. Mm-hmm. And you're entitled to have your experience. Okay? That other person played a role in it, but they didn't cause it. They didn't make it happen. Mm-hmm. They just played a role in it. And the reason we suffer is because look what they did to me. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And that in itself shut down intuition. You just shut down intuition and look what they did to me. Instead of, what role did I play in that?
Well, and that's hard. That's a hard one. Because, not to interrupt you, but in one of our sessions, that's what you asked me. What was your role? And I was pissed. What was my fucking role? I didn't do shit. What are you talking about? What was my role? I didn't do anything. It's not my fault. And so it took me probably months to, really have that click. What was my role? And simply, I could have just walked away, and I chose not to, right? I could have just said, you know what? Let me get back to you later. Instead, I fought. Instead, I was combative. Instead, I felt like I was being attacked. Instead of realizing I had the power to just walk away. I don't have to engage. So my role in it was literally allowing myself to get fired up and acting in a way that I wasn't proud of. But it took a long time for me to understand what is my role in this situation, and realizing I did have a role, and I also had choices, and I made choices that weren't right for me. And so what if people can't physically come to you for you to diagnose the pain? Can you work with them like you have with me over the phone with intuition?
100%. 100%. Rachel, what you did when I asked you that question, and it took you a few months, what happened in those few months when you got it was intuition.
100%. Oh, absolutely. I was in a space where I could finally listen, right? And not ask as many questions, right? I just go with it. Now, like when I hear it, like pick that, not this, I don't say why unless I really felt like I need to question it. I just say, okay. Like even at the grocery store, it'll say this orange, not that one. Okay. Okay, whatever you say. Like I don't question it anymore. I really don't.
You know what that's called? That's called faith.
Yes.
Faith is not believing. It's not guessing. It's not hoping. It's not begging. There's a sense of knowing that arises in the moment. Sometimes you know ahead of time. Oh, actually, all the time we know ahead of time, but it doesn't show up in our brain until that moment when we see the oranges. And then you arose in faith. This thing called faith is so unbelievably powerful that once you get that, you can create the way you do life.
Well, and I'm going to give you a relationship version of this. It's happening right now. My husband was gone for 5 days visiting family, picked him up from the airport, and he's tired, so he's very standoffish. The old me would be like, what's the matter? Don't you love me anymore? Is everything okay? What's the matter? Da-da-da-da, like da-da-da-da-da, which men love. They love that. But instead, my intuition when he got in the car was like, he's tired. Just leave it alone. Of course he loves you. He's here. Just relax. It's okay. Give him time. Whereas the old me would be like attacking him with questions, and he would, and he's very in tune with his intuition. So he always just looks at me like, you're crazy, lady. Stop. So I'm happy now. I'm like listening to it and relaxing into it more. Does that make sense? There is, like we had said earlier, there's a split second where you can either scream at your kids or like back off and say, you know what? Let's talk about this later. I need a minute to think about it. Like go to your room or go do whatever you need to do. I need a minute to breathe and think about this. And a lot of times the old me, like lighting a match, I would just go, right? Like, oh, starting lineup, let's go. And I would just start yelling. And it didn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel good to be in that situation. It doesn't feel good to allow your anger and your fear to take over. But when you finally can like sit with that intuition, sit in the uncomfortableness and listen, it's helped every facet of my life. Everything. Completely changed the way I live.
And if we could teach that to people just getting married, if
God.
we could help them understand, they're not doing it to you. Either one of you aren't doing it to you. You're figuring out how to do this dance.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And if we could take blame, I don't like blame. Because it's just the role I played in it, and these are the consequences I got from it. The end. Stick with the facts. Quit putting all these definitions from the past that somebody told you at school or that was raising you. Keep the moment in the moment. You'll survive so much better. You'll survive. So listen, guys, at IamPerfectlyFrank.com, you can ask questions. You can reach out to me. You can tell us what you want the next podcast to be or how we can inspire you, and then we can reach out to you and say, that's this episode. I look forward to hearing from you. We will have many more conversations about this based on your questions. Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you the next time. And one more time, if you're interested in coaching or body work or intuitive work or even just having a massage here at Muscle Care, please look at the IamPerfectlyFrank.com website. You can also access it through MuscleCareInc.com. So thank you so much, guys. Have a great day.
Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us today on this podcast. By the way, at the I Am Perfectly Frank website, you can find information about all the stuff I've been doing for the last 40 years. We treat pain patterns. We are coaches. We do intuitive work. We also do massage. We also help you understand what your pain is telling you so that you don't have it anymore. Anyways, again, check out the IamPerfectlyFrank.com website, and thank you for joining us today.